Welcome to ProgRock Digital. Welcome back to another episode of ProgRock Digital. Today we're chatting with drummer extraordinaire Mark Zonder. We chat about his days in Fate's Warning, the early Warlord years, as well as the current ZW project and the Graham Bonnet Band. Now this episode is going to be broken up into two parts. We're going to start off with Mark Zonder's early years as a drummer and his time in Warlord. And in episode 2, which is to go to air in the near future, we will start off and chat about his time in Fate's Warning and everything post that. We're back just after this quick break.
Paris of Troy out to Ludos Records, their debut single, Torn Away. Australian prog at its best. Available for download and stream on all digital platforms. Torn away.
Mark Zonder, welcome to ProgRock Digital. How are you, man?
Good, really good. As much as the whole COVID thing sucks and everything. I've been very busy. I've been very lucky. Got a lot of work, a lot of studio work. My studio in North Hollywood's doing really well. There was like a month kind of closure, slowdown because of COVID. But no, I really, I can't complain. I can't complain.
So did you have much on, scheduled and booked in prior to COVID?
No, it's actually kind of went the other way. I have a studio in North Hollywood, part of LA that has 10 rooms, and I have they're all recording studios, and I have guys that run their businesses out of that. So that's good. That's back up and running. And I've always had the studio at home where I do all my drum tracking, whether it's for other clients or the projects that I'm doing in the albums. Like right now, I'm in the middle of doing the Graham Bonnet record, and it's kind of just kept going. It didn't really affect me one way or another because of COVID. I have gotten more work because guys are more sitting at home writing songs and needing drums. So it's been good. I can't. It's kind of working pretty good for me.
So why the drums? How did you start off playing the drums? At what age? And, who were some of your main influences growing up in your quest to be a drummer?
Well, I had my first drum lesson when I was 7, so that's a long time ago. And I do remember as a child, before 7, kind of sitting there with the wooden spoons on the little suitcases, just banging around. And, I had lessons, and anybody who's ever played the drums and had lessons the correct way, that the first 3 to 4 years are really boring. It's a practice pad. It's a snare drum. I didn't have my first, quote, like real drum set, and it wasn't even that good till 6 years later. It's not like guitar where like a week later you're playing Proud Mary or whatever and strumming and you're at a gig kind of thing. Playing the drums is rough, especially back in the day when it was kind of old school where, you were on the practice pad, it was all about hand technique. You're learning to read music and understand that because you're younger and you don't know. So yeah, I just kind of went from there, and I took lessons and then I wouldn't practice, so my parents would stop the lessons. Then I would say, hey, I want to play again. So they would start the lessons up. And one of the funniest stories is when I finally got to a snare drum, I got so frustrated that I took the sticks and I jammed them through the head. And needless to say, my lesson stopped about 10 minutes later. And it just kind of went back and forth, and it was, I played in the school bands, the marching bands and the orchestra. So I was always I never went away from it. Starting at 7, it was always there. I mean, was it 6 hours a day? No, not until later on. But, it was always there. I was always playing with friends who played guitar, or saxophone or whatever. And just doing what kids did, and kind of just went from there.
Mark, two of the bands that you've worked in and been a part of Warlord and Fate's Warning are of interest to me and our listenership here at ProgRock Digital. I believe it really shows your versatility in drumming. How did, firstly, Warlord come about? We'll chat about Fate's Warning a little down the track, but you guys are on the cusp of making it really big in Europe and the US. Would you say timing was a factor in not allowing this to happen?
It's my life. I know exactly what you're talking about. But before you get to that, real quick, when you talk about versatility, yeah. I think you mentioned those two. Okay, let's mention Kevin Moore's Chroma Key record. How about we mention Jim Mattheos' solo record? How about the all these other records that I've done for different artists that kind of go the gamut from kind of rock and pop to kind of heavy metal and back. I think that's kind of shows my versatility a little bit more as more of a musician than just a quote heavy metal drummer. And what's really funny, and don't worry, we'll get back to that question, is one of the main reasons that I started playing with Graham Bonnet back then is I was thinking, okay, Mark, you've got this reputation, Fate's Warning Warlord, kind of this proggy guy, blah, blah, blah. I want to get kind of in the mainstream. I mean, I'd love to play with the Scorpions. You know what I mean? It's like, I love that kind of music, commercial hard rock, Whitesnake, whatever you want to call it. So I thought playing with Graham would be this quote exposure, and I did a bunch of gigs. We went around Europe. We played some festivals and the record and all that. But, it didn't really propel me to any other thing. But that's part of the reason sometimes going for a little bit more versatile, because you want to kind of get out of the shell.
Yes.
But anyway, going back to Warlord, the way Warlord started was I was playing in San Jose in a band called Russian Roulette. And it was a cover band. And we played the Scorpions, Thin Lizzy, UFO, those kind of things, Rainbow. And the girlfriend of a lead singer knew this guy worked at this bookstore named Bill Samus. And she brought him over to see the gig because she thought his style and my style would work really well together in an original band. We started talking, and then we just started jamming. And me and Bill spent hours, just guitar and drums, nobody else, no bass player, no singer, hours and hours. A lot of those songs were written and or worked up with just Bill and I. We sat there for hours and hours and just playing. And to answer your question, yes, absolutely. You have to remember Warlord was coming out, in 1983-ish. Okay, what do you got? You got Motley Crue, you got Rat, you got Poison, you've got, Faster Pussycats.
Spandex.
Yeah, exactly. You have, and that's great. That's Hollywood sunset. Unfortunately, we were an LA band because we were in LA, North Hollywood, but we weren't like that. So as much as we had fans that were in love with the band, it wasn't this mass appeal like when those other bands would hit. Let's face it, as soon as Motley Crue got signed and started to be successful, what did every record label in town want to do? Oh, we got to get a band just like that. Okay. But Warlord just never, and as much as I appreciate Brian Slagle and as much as he did for Warlord, I'll tell you an inside story. Bill and I, after Deliver Us was done, went to a gentleman's name. His name was Michael Browning, and he managed AC/DC at the time. And we went up there because we were looking for management. He takes our record, sits us down, and he literally sits there for 33 minutes and listens to both sides. Stops the record, and he looks at it and he goes, "You guys have a platinum record right there." And me and Bill are like getting all excited. We're going, oh my God, here we go. Where are the girls? Where's the champagne? Okay, here we go. And he looks us straight in the eye, and I'll never forget this. And I really appreciated it. He says, "But no one will hear this because Metal Blade's not going to do a damn thing with it. They don't know what to do with it. So you're nothing's going to happen. But I'll tell you, that is a platinum record." And we felt good. It was good. But yeah, it's the Warlord thing, the timing, and that's the whole reason we did the video. You have to remember, this is way before iPhone cameras and way before, $200 little video cameras that everybody has. We knew that we weren't an LA band. We knew that we needed to get out to Europe, but no one was going to be flying us there. So we thought the easiest way, especially this was kind of that MTV Music Video 1 or whatever it was. So we thought, hey, if we did a video, at least these people could see exactly what we're trying to do and what we're all about. But yeah, that was kind of, Warlord was always the could have, should have, would have band in my book that, should have went, I guess I played in a couple of those kind of bands, but there's that should have been big. I really think that band could have been really big.
Now, just confirm with me if you can, that was a $800 recording, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Oh no, what it was 8-track studio, okay, 8-track reel to reel, where the engineer smoked crack cigarettes or cocaine cigarettes for the duration of the whole thing.
Gee.
I'll never forget that smell, though. That's one of those kind of smells that, like, if I go someplace and I smell that, I go, oh, I know what that is, But now picture this, I'm playing this ridiculously oversized drum set, 26-inch bass drums and the whole bit. That record, back then, there was nothing digital. So what they had to do, what the engineer did, and he was great. He was a really good engineer, taking into account the situation that we were under, 8 tracks. So he wound up taking the 2 bass drums and the bass guitar and putting that on 1 track.
I bounced them on the 1 track. Yeah, okay. Yep.
Exactly. And then the rest of the drums were on 2. So, okay, 3 are down. Then you got the vocal, and then you have guitars and keys and whatever. But yeah, that was $800. Those were the days of the big budgets. And, it was quite the experience, I have to say.
So, Mark, tell us a bit about your relationship with Will, Bill Zamas, and, how it all works. I mean, from what I'm reading on social media and from what I see on the internet, you have a very strong relationship. Lines of communication are not grey in any way, shape or form. It's almost as if you guys speak the same language when it comes to writing music, writing, albums, pieces, writing songs. Can you elaborate on that?
There is no doubt, and anybody will tell you this, that Warlord is Bill and I, okay? And it's Bill and I for different reasons. The way this band really worked in the beginning was, obviously, I'm not writing music. Bill's writing all the music. Another thing people need to know is Bill looks at the vocal as just another instrument. So he wrote all the lyrics. He wrote all the melody lines. He had all the ideas. Like we joked, like if Bill could sing or if I could sing, we wouldn't need anybody else. And the relationship has always been great. It's been an amazing mutual respect. We are different kind of people. We have different, our personalities are totally different. But there's never been a lack of respect. There's never been a, quote, falling out. There's just been times where Bill just didn't want to do it, whether it was his physical health that wouldn't enable him to do it. And Bill's not the type of guy to just phone something in. If he can't do it like 110% and be totally into it and have that magic, because it's really interesting, that same magic that we had sitting in that little rehearsal studio, in 1980 or whatever, when it was Bill and I, was the same magic that was going on, like when we were recording The Holy Empire, or we were recording in New York, when I lived in New York and Bill came up and we did Rising Out of the Ashes with Joachim. It's that same feeling. It's like nothing else matters. It's heaven. It's bliss. It's awesome to sit there and record stuff and then hear it come back, and you're hearing it. It's always an experience, an amazing experience to record and do those kind of things with Bill. So the relationship's been great. It really just comes down to the total dedication and total honoring of the music, never doing anything cheap. You got to admit, if you look at that guy, the dude's never written 2 songs that are even closely related to each other. I mean, think about songwriters and guys. I mean, the guy's writing Lucifer's Hammer at 17 years old, sitting on a bus, waiting for a bus. I mean, and I'm not sure if people know this or not, but obviously, Joachim was a big Warlord fan. The whatchamacallit, they covered Child of the Damned.
Yep.
Or let me rephrase that. They tried to cover Child of the Dam.
Mm.
They didn't exactly do the drums and guitar justice. Hey, God bless them. God, anytime someone covers your song, hey, that's a compliment. But the whole band name came from Lucifer's Hammer. When the line in there is "the hammer will fall on you," and
Yes.
Joachim told me that it came from there. So, the band has an influence, obviously, but it's just magic. The guy is genius. Never plays a wrong note. I don't think I've ever heard him play a wrong note. He just has a certain sense because he's totally into it. He's got like a God's gift of that's something that certain people get. Certain people are lucky enough to get, and he got it. A lot of hard work because obviously, when he was a kid, he had all the lessons, and I think it was classical guitar back then, and he put the work in. There was no doubt about it, and he was never lazy or by any means, and. Just with us, the timing, it's just the timing. And he had, physical problems and health problems, and it didn't allow him to do kind of what he wanted to do.
So, Mark, you're in your 60s now. Would I be right in saying that you started the band off in your early or very early 20s?
Yeah, very early 20s, yeah.
Just paint the picture for us if you can. You're in your early 20s. I take it you're living away from home. What's the Mark Zonder psyche at this stage? Are you committed? Are you focused 100%? Is the band everything at this stage? How committed are you?
Absolutely. I mean, even fast forward this 40 years or whatever band I'm in or whatever project I'm doing, that is what I wake up in the morning and think about. That is, I don't want to be one of those kind of weird dudes that say that's what defines me, but that's what defines me, and keeping it at a certain level all the time and pushing it up. And that's the one thing that I take a lot of pride in, is that you listen to the early records and yeah, you can kind of tell it's me, but I think over those years that I've taken it and I've perfected it, and I've taken it to a different level. And, from the playing point of view, from the production point of view, from just the all around knowing and just, improving my sound. But no, I was actually in those days, I was just in a little apartment. I was working at a company that was called National Semiconductor. They were actually, it's kind of like IBM. They were the ones who made the first scanners in the grocery stores. And I would work, a normal 8 to 5, and then me and Bill would rehearse and play, and then on the weekends we'd play. And that was in San Jose. And then when we moved down to LA, I was living in a small apartment. Oh, I take that back. No. We were living kind of on people's couches for a while, and we had a small rehearsal studio. And then we wound up, getting this warehouse, a part of a warehouse, and they used to call it Warlord Manor. And we had a rehearsal room, and we had our little rooms in the corners that just had like sheets up. It wasn't an apartment. It was a second story of an industrial building, no air conditioning, no shower. We had to make our own shower. We did a whole thing with, you buy these little kits where you can kind of make your own shower. And, it was, people would say, oh, that's really rough. And, how could you do that? But it was the greatest times, man. We were cranking out Child of the Dam. We were playing Lucifer's Hammer, Mrs. Victoria. We were just totally engulfed in the band. That's all we were doing. Obviously you had to work.
Yeah.
You had to make money to survive. By hook or by crook. I was doing construction with a buddy of mine at the time. I worked for a collection agency. Hey, whatever it took. Obviously we didn't have big expenses, but back then you had to pay for drumsticks, you had to pay for drum heads. You break a cymbal, you're kind of screwed. So yeah, we did it the old-fashioned band house kind of thing, and but it was in a warehouse, and it was awesome. It was great. I wouldn't trade those days for the world.
Now, Mark, in our chat so far, you've basically touched on, personal growth and, development, if you like, as a drummer and musician. Now, I don't know you personally, and I only know you, hearing you through bands and projects that you've worked on and worked in. You come across as a professional operator, and I'm in no way, shape, or form discounting those that you've worked with. However, my perception of you, as an outsider, is that you are on top of things. You're prepared. You're out of the box when it comes to drumming. Yet, there's a method to your madness. Would I be right in saying that?
I appreciate it. You kind of hit it. My biggest problem in the music business that I've had my whole career is having people keep up. And I don't mean keep up talent-wise. I mean keep up responsibility-wise. I mean keep up like, okay, man, I don't want to do this record 2 years from now. Let's do it now, And it's like, okay, here's my drum parts. Okay, now you have to do your part. And that's my biggest problem. Whether it's singers, whether it's just guys in bands, the two people that believe it or not, and Bill was fine. This is taking nothing away from Bill at all. This has nothing to do with Bill. But the two people recently that come to mind that are great and that I work amazingly well and everything is, one is Gary Werkamp. We could write, a record in a week. And he lives, 2,000 miles from me.
Yes.
Very, again, professional, the word's professional. That's what I think it is. It's professional. And the other guy, obviously, is Jim Matheos that I've worked with for years. You can say whatever you want about Jim and blah, blah, blah. But besides being honest and fair and all that, never had any problems there, just professional, just like, here's the track, record it. This is what I don't like on this part. I'll flash back to it when I did the one or two tracks on the Arch Matheos record. Now, obviously, I was a hired guy. I wasn't in the band, but it just flashed me back on how straight up professional. It's just business. I don't want to make it sound like a cold thing, but people just screw up the business part of this, not the dollars and the cents, but the responsibility. Hey, man, we want to get this done. You know what I mean? The record label, and this is a problem I've had with a couple projects I've done. The record company needs to have this by June 1st. And if they don't, they're going to start docking our money. You know what I mean? As a penalty. Yeah. And it's like, I think Graham Bonnet said it best when he said to the manager, he goes, I think Mark had his drum tracks recorded before we even asked him to get in the band. It's like, I just work that way because it's everything to me. I mean, it's my name associated with my product. And I don't want to ever hear later on, oh man, that dude, yeah, great, he can play, but he really, can't get it together. But again, I think it's just a reflection on who people are as people and how they run their lives and, how, they take care of their business. But yeah, no, it's kind of everything to me. I mean, it's so, especially the further and further along you get along, some would argue as well, you're already established, so you can just kind of phone this one in and on this recording, just do it really quick. And it's okay if it's a little sloppy, but I've kind of went the opposite. The older I get, the more I'm trying to take it to that next level. It's a constant challenge to be better and be more creative and sound better. People go, holy crap, listen to that. You know what I mean? Like, to be creative and stuff instead of, it's really easy to phone stuff in. It's really, when you get to a certain level of competency, I mean, I can almost go out and play tunes down one time, not even thinking about it. And when I look back at it, in the computer kind of thing, wow, that's on, you're on, you're right dead to the click, but I don't like to approach it that way. I like to make every part special and, because I still have this belief in the back of my head that there's always that possibility that somebody of importance is going to hear something.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Mickey D's not going to do the gig with the Scorpions. We need a drummer. How about that guy? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you never know. and you're again, you're only as good as your last recording. So, but yeah, I think you hit that one on the head. That's pretty much how I operate.
Paris of Troy out to Ludos Records, their debut single, Torn Away. Australian prog at its best. Available for download and stream on all digital platforms.
ParisofTroy.com.
My eyes are torn away.
Until next time, stay COVID safe. Don't forget to visit progrockdigital.com. You can also email us at progrockdigital@gmail.com. This is Nicholas Georgakopoulos. You have been listening to Prog Rock Digital.